about the transit of Pluto squaring up with Uranus to the Sun in your chart. So I'm talking about the people who have their Sun at around about 7, 8, 9 degrees of Libra, Cancer, Capricorn and Aries. It means that you have this Pluto or Uranus in a challenging position on your Sun. So I mean an opposition or a square, which means that there is a need for a change. Like in the first video I talked about what is Pluto-Uranus, what does it mean? So there's going to be a change. And the Sun represents our identity. So there's going to be identity change. Hopefully not a crisis, but could be. But a totally change of who we are. Actually, something that goes quite deep to the core of our personality. But first of all, to understand what it means to have Pluto-Uranus on your Sun, we could take a look at people who have these positions in their natal chart and how they act and what kind of vibrations we see. When people have, men and women have an aspect of their Sun, doesn't matter which sign it is on, but with an aspect of Pluto or Uranus in a square or in a trine or whatever, it means that these people are really kind of the PR people of the change, because these two planets represent very much changes in their lives. So these could be people that if we haven't seen them for a long time, mostly we say, oh, I haven't seen someone for a long time and he's just the same or she's just the same. But with people who have Pluto and Uranus in an important position on their Sun, these are the people that really do make drastic changes even in their life. So these are the people that we say, I don't recognize them anymore. They have completely changed. This was a rather shy person and after 10 years I see them back and they've completely turned into a very extrovert person. This is possible with these people. And of course, normally, we don't see that a lot. We don't see that a lot, that people do change a lot in life. So these people kind of have the possibility or kind of have the opportunity in their lives to transform quite regularly. Probably when their Sun is triggered by a kind of an aspect of a planet of Pluto or Uranus or whatever, when it is triggered, then there are changes going on. So that's one thing. If we talk about Uranus, so the planet that wants to liberate us and that wants to free us up, and if people have Uranus on their Sun, maybe a conjunction or an opposition or a square and so on, these are the people who are quite representing individuality. So these are the people who really need space, who really need to do things on their own, who really love freedom, who really are quite exciting too, and not boring people at all, but sometimes quite unpredictable. So you never know with them what they're going to do, what their next step is going to be, and sometimes other people see them as they're going to the right and then to the left, and then you can't follow these people because they're constantly doing new stuff, exciting stuff, and other people could perceive them as people that are very dynamic, or as people not dynamic, but there's not a stable factor in their life. It seems that there is not really stability, but that could be a good thing, that they really have to do a lot of different things to fulfill themselves. It could also mean that there is a vibration of let's say someone has this aspect and they could go off and get a package of cigarettes and then there's a possibility they're not going to come back. Of course, they are going to come back, but there's always this sense of this possibility. You never know with these people what their next step is going to be. And some people, they like that, but a lot of people don't. But they probably attract people that have a bit of the same in their charts, hopefully. So that is what is Uranus about. Then Pluto, when you have an aspect of your Sun and Pluto, this means that these changes are going to happen a lot in their life. And they really need it, actually. Sometimes you could say, oh, these people, they go through a lot of changes in their life. Oh my goodness, they have a lot of things to, maybe a lot of crisis going on. It doesn't always have to be this dramatic. So it could mean that they have a lot of losses in their life, physically, of significant people in their life. But it could also mean that these changes go on the inside. So they transform a lot. And someone who's got these two planets on their Sun, Pluto and Uranus, these are the people that are constantly transforming, and when they're amongst other people who are quite, who are quite frightening against all changes, or who are quite controlling, they won't like these people, and they feel like, they won't feel at ease, actually. So these people, when they're going for work, or in their relationships, or even with all the connections they make, they have a kind of an impact on other people. And it's very black and white. Are they going to like them, or are they not going to like them? People who really need changes in their life probably going to attract these people, just to give them a little push. So this is how it is in a natal chart. Now, what happens if we have a transit of this Pluto-Uranus square that is now going on a collective level, and if you have one of those four signs, your sun sign is one of those four signs, so what happens? This means that there is a total need of change of identity. And maybe it is just probably it's just at the right time that this happens. So people could really have, maybe, of course, on different levels. It depends on where the sun is positioned in your chart. So maybe in the 10th, when your sun is in the 10th house, it could have to do with your work. It could mean that for ages you have done a job that isn't really you, because it's about your identity. It's about who you are. The sun represents where we want to shine. Even in the 12th house, you shine in the dark. So you look at the position of your sun in the chart, and then you will understand it better. So it really means that your identity, that a lot of old you has to vanish, has to go away, and you have to reinvent yourself. You have to reinvent your identity. Some people will think that is difficult, and I think, of course, it always depends on your temperament, but I think people who have their sun in Libra could have a bit of difficulties with it. Why? Because Libra is a sign of Venus, and is a sign of diplomacy, and is a sign of, I want to take into consideration what other people think, what other people feel. And if you're having this Pluto-Uranus transit on your sun, it really means that you have to take care of you. You have to be a bit selfish. You have to be taken into consideration your own identity and what you like and what is good for you. So maybe Librans will have a bit of difficulties with that, because they always want to take other people into consideration. They always think of others. But they will see that there is a need to it, and they see that the more they fight against it, the worse it gets, because it's a fight against yourself, and you can never win that. So once they realize that they have to do things for themselves, they have to stand up for themselves, they have to shine for themselves, they have to take responsibility for themselves. And not, actually it's also a transit that concerns maturity in life. You will get more mature, you will be more of an authority on your own field. So maybe it can be things that you've wanted for so long in your life, and now is the time to do that. But when it is in opposition and the square is not gonna happen just very smoothly, you have to work on it and you have to understand it. So this transit also means that there's going to be a digging of who am I actually, and who am I all about, and because the sun represents so much that who are you? The sun in a chart also represents the father figure, or could represent in a chart of a female, could represent the significant male figure in their life. So it could also mean, especially in opposition, that maybe it's not about her. Well, of course it's about her, but maybe she's in a relationship and her boyfriend or husband is going through an immense change when it comes to identity. In a chart of a man, of course, it really means their core, it really means their identity needs this total change. Even in horoscopes of children, like the typical transit of Pluto and Uranus square could happen with a 2-year-old, even with a 2-year-old having this transit, or even a young boy in his puberty who is really standing up against his father. You know, the sun is a father figure in a chart, and when Pluto and Uranus is touching this, it could mean that he stands up against him, which is good and which is healthy. But that brings up a lot of transformation into the life of this child, not only physically but also internally, and also it could also reflect that their father is going through changes. And if very surprisingly enough, well, not surprisingly, I think it's just the way it is, when you look at the charts of the parents, you will also see this Pluto-Uranus touching some kind of a planet that reflects that the parent is also going through a lot of changes. So all is very much mixed and all is one, actually. So it could mean that it's always so interesting to watch the horoscopes or watch the charts of your children to understand better why they act the way they act, why they act a bit strange, why they act completely different as they used to do. Maybe they're having a Pluto-Uranus transit on their sun, which is in fact very good, which is in fact a sign of this child is going through a process that is changing him or her a lot, and who's going to make this child more mature, more self-confident, and more a kind of an identity that rises here, which is good. So a lot of opportunities when you're having this Pluto-Uranus transit on your sun. Of course, a lot of work to do probably, for some a bit more than others, but what an opportunity to change in such a drastic way. And well, drastic, I mean, there's time for it. There's approximately 2 years, 2.5 years that you get. This is a process of change, but could be could be drastic. It depends on how much you are aware of it. So when you're not going with the flow with these changes, it's going to be as if the circumstances do all the things. But if you're aware of it, then you seem to have a bit of control with it. So all the luck for those of you who are having Pluto-Uranus transit on your sun, and I wish you all the best with it. Thank you for listening to this little video, and I'll see you back. Bye bye.